First, I will show the final cutscene in full screen.
Huh? Welcome to paradise.
Whoa.
So for my final assignment, I recreated a cinematic Lego-style scene inspired by The Good Place, a series. For the scene composition, I focused mainly on what is visible through the camera shots instead of building a huge environment. So I used furniture, plants, windows imported from Megabricks, 2 connected rooms and the welcome signs to make the environment feel more believable and visually balanced. I also used a sunset skybox and warmer colors throughout the scene to match the atmosphere from The Good Place. For the camera work, I used Cinemachine together with Timeline. I made 12 shots in total and sequenced everything through a central cutscene manager timeline, as you can see right here. I used Cinemachine virtual cameras and the Align with View workflow to frame shots directly from the scene view. I also used Cinemachine blends to create smoother interpolation between shots instead of relying only on hard cuts, as you can see here. The cutscene includes close-up shots, medium shots, reveal shots, and camera pans. I adjusted the shot timing together with the character movement and music pacing to make the sequence feel more cinematic and controlled. So for characters, I started from Megabricks models and customized them in Blender before exporting them into Unity. So first, I unwrapped all of my character components and organized the UV layouts onto a single bitmap. Then I exported the UV layouts into Illustrator, where I created the clothing details, colors, skin tones, and facial textures directly onto the bitmap. After importing the textures back into Blender, I adjusted the UV placement and materials further before exporting final characters into Unity as FBX files. During export, I used settings like Apply Transform and Copy Path Mode so that scaling and textures transferred correctly between Blender and Unity. For Eleanor, I also created multiple face states and expressions so I could visually communicate emotional changes during the cutscene. For the animation, I used Unity's animation system together with the timeline animation tracks. As you can see here, I animated each character on one timeline. Eleanor, the house, which is the door, and of course the moving objects, and Michael. I animated head movement, arm movement, and face swaps, object movement, and stylized Lego character movement. I also animated interactions between characters and the environment, like Michael opening the door, or gesturing towards the seat Eleanor has to sit in, or magically conjuring a flower to give to Eleanor. For materials and lighting, I used 2 mixed directional lights together with real-time point lines and real-time shadows to create a warmer cinematic atmosphere inside the room. I used the directional lights mainly to simulate the sunset coming through the windows and to compensate for some of the lighting depth I lost during baking. I also used real-time point lights for local lighting because they gave me more control over the mood and intensity of specific areas during the cutscene, especially when animating and adjusting the cameras. I worked with baked lighting and global illumination to improve environmental lighting and shadow realism, but several imported Megabricks meshes caused UV and mesh compatibility issues during the bake process. So some objects either failed to bake correctly or produce inconsistent lighting results. Because of this, I combined baked lighting with real-time lighting and post-processing instead of relying completely on baked global illumination. I also created my own transparent glass material for windows directly inside Unity by exporting the window meshes separately and manually adjusting material rendering mode, transparency values, and shader settings. And for post-processing, I use Unity's global volume system with bloom, vignette, and color grading. The bloom helped create a softer glow inspired by the atmosphere from The Good Place, while vignette helped focus viewers' attention more towards the center of the frame, as well as create that nice cinematic look. I also color graded the scene using warmer orange tones to match the sunset skybox and create more consistent lighting throughout the sequence. For audio, I also used separate timeline tracks for background music and sound effects and timed it perfectly to the scene, shots, and animation. I also added audio fade-outs near the end of the cutscene to create smoother transition and a more polished ending.